Okay, so we are here and are going to show how to make a miniature kite. In the end, it will look like this. Well, this will be, you know, long when you're flying it.
And it'll actually be purple.
Yes,
And
it'll look like this.
purple.
Okay, so what we want to do is first you can look at the measurements in the pattern, but the length of it is going to be 7 3/4. The across from point to point will be 7 inches. This is 105 degrees. These are 90 degrees, and this is 75-degree angle. And oftentimes I cut the pattern using like a triangle shape because I just think it makes sure that all your edges are nice and lined up when you're actually cutting it from the paper. And you can make 2 of these out of an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. I use seed paper that I print on with an inkjet. And then out of that same 8.5 by 11, you can get your bridle, which this one is 4 3/4 in length, and across is 2 1/4. And this is 90 degrees. This is 65 degrees. This top point. And cool. And then you're going to use these spars, which are these are wooden dowels that I got that are 7. Here's the packaging. It's from Amazon. And I'm not sure, but it's a nice sturdy wood. It's not a balsa wood. And they're 7.8 inches in length, so they'll be like perfect for our kite. So what we do to start, once you have your kite cut out, is we're going to do the vertical spar first. And I like to do a nice dot of glue at the top and at the bottom. And then I just dot along that folded line. That's another reason why it's nice to use a folded line. You really don't want too much glue. And I think you could probably use Elmer's. I like tacky glue. But you really don't want too much because it can make your kite a little heavier. And the lighter your kite, the lighter the wind it'll fly in. But these kites are pretty good for, I've flown them in like 12-mile-per-hour wind, but I think they're better once you start getting closer to 20-mile-per-hour winds. They'll really get going. Okay, so then I just kind of clear off the edges with glue. Kind of make sure the glue is like pushed right under the dowel. Sometimes I'll add a little bit just to reinforce, especially at the top and bottom. And kind of
Even why?
use my fingernail to really push it in there. And then what I like to do too is just turn it over and with glue-free hands as much as possible. You can even use something else to cover it. You can, that's okay guys, you can add your commentary. And then I make sure it's nice and creased. It sticks pretty well. It's pretty.
Mom, can you stop talking? Because
Well, I'm explaining how to make the kite. So, and then, for doing the horizontal spar, these are nice in that they're sturdy, but they can kind of fold around pretty well, and then the paper will kind of mold to the spar. So you don't need to add glue all the way across. What I like to do is add it about 4/5 the way across. Again, like a little extra on the end, and then again over here, and then. And yeah, I'm gluing it on, and then so I push it down. So these are, you'll notice, are a little bit long. You can cut them in advance. I use wire cutters or nice diesel snips here. Okay, so once you kind of press it on, again, you're going to turn it over. Can I use this? And just, you don't want to rub it too hard because you can kind of like, you know, thin out the paper there, but just give it a nice press and it'll make sure that your paper is nice and secure. Yeah, and we're gonna cut that. So we'll just cut off the end there. Okay. Okay, so we have the base of our kite. Now we're gonna take our our bridle and attach that. So how we do this is you're gonna want for the kite to fly really nicely, you're looking for this to be at a particular height. So you don't want to just put it anywhere. You want it kind of centered in a way that the...
Help me.
Okay, hold on one sec with that, Maya. We're going to need that in a minute. So you want to line it up the way I've measured these out. The point should actually... So you want there's a little bit extra, maybe like 1/8 of an inch that you can use to glue down right on top of that vertical spar. And then in order to figure out like where you line it up, you want to make sure your point is on the lines up with the horizontal spar. So it's going to be like this. And that way, as the kite is flying, it has the right kind of angle to really fly nicely. There's different ways to do a bridle. You can also do a string one that's adjustable, but I've measured these out to be about the right set up the right way. So, okay, so that's about, you're going to plan to glue it on right about here. See where the point...
Mommy,
Yeah.
I don't want to hold it.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so before we do that, we're going to fold over just about like 1/8 of an inch so that we can glue that and have it be already like folded over when we put it on the kite. So we're going to fold over like that, and then we're going to dot that little 1/8 of an inch underside of that with glue. Okay. And then we know where we're lining it up. You could have even measured it out if you want to, but I like to just kind of stick it on lined up with that. Again, so you want it lined up with the vertical spar is where you're gluing the 1/8 of an inch. Thanks, Maya. All right. And then you want your point to match up with the other point. So it's going to look like this. See? Point to point. Okay. And then again, you can use your, just give it, make sure it's nice and glued down. And I like to fold it over and just make sure that it's kind of creasing nicely.
Real kite.
And still lined up.
Right now, a real kite.
A real kite. Yep. Do you guys fly these kites?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Cool. So now we're ready to do the tail. So I use this this raffia paper ribbon. Now the trick with this is actually you could unfold it and make a tail that's nice and thick like or wide like this.
And then we need to cut the string.
We will in just a second. I'm going to hold those though, okay?
Very,
Actually,
very,
we're going to keep the
very
scissors on the table until we need them because we don't want to have any accidents. Okay, so you could just unfold the whole length and have a nice wide tail, but I think they fly pretty nicely with, you know, even just with the ribbon kind of nice and thin like this. But I like to unfold a little bit at the top in order to glue. So, but what I'm going to do before that comes is we're going to measure out 8 lengths. So going from the vertical spar, so you're going to do about 8 lengths of a tail. That'll give you enough stability without too much weight. If you find that it's too heavy and you want it to fly without, like it's just too heavy and you want it to fly in a lighter wind, you could cut off some of the tail. You could always add more on by just gluing more raffia paper at the end. But you might find that the kite wavers in the wind a little bit without the extra stability. So you can try different ways. Okay, so that's 1, 2. Can you guys count with me? 3, 4,
8,
5. Yep. 6, 7, 8. And you could always try a little bit extra and again cut it you know, cut it out in the field if you're finding it's not the right length. Okay, so then I'm gonna just use the other one to measure a second tail that's the same length. Okay, it's all about balance and symmetry with kites. Okay, so then I unfold a little bit of the paper just to give me some room to glue. Add a little bit of glue to the end.
Mom, can I go get some food for David and me?
Sure.
Okay.
Dad'll just ask Dad to help you with that, bud. It's right in the dining room. Okay, oh, got a little glue on there. Okay, so then I attach the first tail.
Help, Mom.
Dave, do you want to get the door for Maya there? Okay, and then I'm going to do the same with the second tail. A little bit of glue. Okay. All right, and then we're going to add so we added our second tail, so it'll look like this. And then what I like to do for when I'm not flying the tail, or you know, when we're not flying the kite, is I just fold it up like this. And then you can clip it with a paper clip, or you can just wrap the end and kind of make a little tie. You could also use a separate piece and just tie it around the middle, but something like that should work, just to keep it out of the way. It's pretty sturdy raffia paper, doesn't rip too easily, so that should work. Now David's going to be my assistant for this part. So we're going to measure about my arm's length in string, to, assuming this is about 5 feet. I mean, you could also just get a yardstick or a tape measure and measure it out, but this is how we do it. We're a little intuitive about our kite building at certain points. Okay, so we're gonna do about 5 feet, and we're gonna measure out about 30 feet in string. So that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25,
And
30. You can also get like kite spools of string and just attach them. Got it? Oh, careful. Careful with those. Finger. Away from the finger. Okay. Alright. So then we got our string, and I use this like nice thin, but not, like you can use embroidery thread, but I like this kind that's like a woven a little more tightly together, I guess. So it doesn't, I feel like embroidery thread, sometimes the individual strings come apart really easily. So for really light kites, you can sometimes just use sewing string, just that single thread. But this is like a little bit sturdier, maybe like a food safe string can work. That same kind of cotton light string. Okay. And then what you're going to do is take one end of it and you're going to attach it to the plain side of your bridle. So I put a nice smudge of glue. It's about like 1/2 inch, maybe a little less. And then I'm going to take the end and put it facing that way. Make a little loop and make sure it's kind of lined up with the point. Kind of press that in there nicely. Sometimes I'll add just a little bit to reinforce it once it's on there. So, and then that tacky glue dries pretty quickly. So then we're going to take this end. Dave, do you want to help with this part? Okay, let's make sure our string is not going to knot up on us. So then I take like a piece of, you could use cardboard or something.
And then you cut holes.
We're going to cut little
Lines.
slices, yep, in a
And
couple
then-
places.
David, do you want
And-
crackers?
Yes.
They
And
have to go inside.
keep this. Then you like put the string right there, and then you wrap it around, and then when you want it to, when you fly it, you put it slightly in there,
Yeah.
and then
Keeps your string on. Like you put the
cardboard.
yeah, so you keep one end in there so that when you're flying it, you have like a place where the string stops, and then you have another for when you want to kind of keep your kite at that length of string. So Dave's gonna wind it up for us, and that's pretty much it. It's ready to fly. After it dries a little bit. Enjoy.
Bye.
Bye.